Welcome to the Lost Holocron Podcast, a Star Wars podcast where we give you topics from all around the galaxy. I am your host, Didge, and with me as always is the homie AJ. AJ, how you doing today?
Surviving and thriving over here.
Is that how we're gonna start this? All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that you are surviving and thriving. Today we are going to talk about, I guess, something that I really like about the Star Wars universe is the multitude of games that there are available with it. So this is sort of our gaming episode. We're gonna go from the earliest games to probably spend most of our time around the more recent ones. And then definitely with that, we have to talk about some of the rumors for some upcoming games. First and foremost, AJ, we're gonna just start off. What is your favorite Star Wars game out of all of them? I'm sure by now you've thought of that and you're like, oh, this is number one. So I'm curious to see what you got.
No, this is actually tough because I love the Force Unleashed games.
Yeah, those are great.
Up top. And then you have the newer games, which is the title escaped me right now for some reason.
So you say the newer one?
Jedi Survivor, and Fallen Order. Yeah.
Okay.
Those are up there for me. I will put Jedi Survivor all the way at the top just because the story and just the fidelity of that game specifically is just high tier compared to others. Which is fair because it literally just came out
it came out.
It literally came out this year. So
right.
For me, I just like the lore of everything that's being told in it. I like the story, the characters. They're all cool, just like in any other Star Wars game. But I really did see myself in these characters. So I think Jedi Survivor is my favorite.
I can definitely understand that. Obviously, without giving too much away about the story, I think the story was a crazy ride. I was definitely, I could see why you said the ending might piss me off a little bit because it did, and I was just like, why? It makes sense for that to be number one on your list. I don't think I got it number one on mine. It's probably a very close two. My number one, it's gonna shock a lot of people, is the original Star Wars Battlefront 2, not this most recent one. Okay. But that game, I think it was almost the perfect epitome of a Star Wars game. Like, you got to have the full-on battles with blasters. Like, you didn't have where there were the elements where there were no lightsabers, but then when they had the heroes and villains mode,
that was cool.
It was so cool.
Yeah.
And I think that was because I had already liked the original Star Wars Battlefront, but that had built upon it so much, and I put way too many hours into that game. I think that's why I was so excited when they were bringing back the Battlefront series. And I know people had their gripes with them. I actually enjoyed them.
I like those. I like the newer Battlefront games. I
know a lot of people.
I like the story mode in Battlefront 2. That was pretty cool.
That story mode was great. Yes,
I liked it.
I get a lot of people. They had their issues with it, and I think a lot of it was around loot boxes and stuff like that. I never really cared. So I had a good time with them, but they definitely weren't to the quality, or I wouldn't even say to the quality. I didn't have as much fun as I did as when I was playing the original Battlefront 2. So I definitely got to give that my number one. So with that, the first Star Wars game, do you know what the first Star Wars game is?
No, I do not.
So it's called.
Yeah. I don't. I was going to make a guess, but it'll be totally off. But yeah.
Oh yeah, because it's not even a video game. Well, it's an electronic battle command game. It's called. It's literally called the Star Wars Electronic Battle Command game. Let me see. I meant to pull it up so I can.
I assume it came out like 2001.
No, this came out in the 70s.
Oh shit.
2000.
Man, look, see.
No, why would you think that the first game came out?
I have no idea. No, I just assumed that they haven't decided to do a Star Wars game until the prequels happen. So
No, so that's the thing. There's been a ton of Star Wars games all throughout. Like I said, the first one came out in specifically 78. But then if you're looking at even some of the computer games and stuff like that, they were making games. The first LucasArts game, or LucasArts rather, their first game was still mid 90s. Now, I don't know for sure if it was a Star Wars game specifically. It looks like they made a bunch of World War II games. But their first video game was Star Wars X-Wing, that came out in 93. So they've been making games. It's just, obviously, I think they sort of hit high when you got to the point of the prequel trilogy, because then you were getting the game systems that could handle that. Like when the first when they did the Phantom Menace game, that game was fun. I know you didn't play it.
Nope.
I know you
Nope.
But I had a great time with that game. That game was a lot of fun. Obviously they did the same thing for Attack of the Clones. And did you play the Revenge of the Sith game at least?
Nope.
So let me.
I know what it is. I've seen like the cutscenes of it, like the alternate ending.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
about. I've seen all of those for Revenge of the Sith. I just never played it.
So much fun is because I love the cutscenes. Like being able to doing the alternate ending was a lot of fun. You really got to play through the movie, and I really liked the movie, so that was fun to be able to just continuously play through it essentially. So that was a good time. And then that's when you started also getting like those Battlefront games that we talked about earlier. I think those were amazing. But what was the first Star Wars game that you played then? Because I've listed a ton of games and you're just nope. I think by now we're like at 03, 04. So they were firmly established that Star Wars games were a good time. And then you just
Yeah, I was like, to be fair, I'm younger than you are, so
yeah.
By the time it was like 2004, I wasn't really that old to understand how to play games and stuff like that. But my first game was Battlefront, the first Battlefront that was ever been made, not the remake, but the original. And I had a lot of fun with it. I remember playing that back in middle school when I went over to my friend's house because he had it. I didn't really have a game system at the time. So I played with them a lot, Battlefront and Halo and stuff like that. So Battlefront was my first game that I played for Star Wars.
So that was 04. Which, okay, that makes sense then. Yeah, because I was 12 then. So yeah, that was one of those where I probably had just got my own system. I was no longer sharing with my brother. I can't hear you. Oh, okay. You were talking.
I was 9 years old when that came out. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're not that much younger than me. But are you the oldest?
I am the oldest, yeah.
That's the difference. So
yeah,
I was exposed to games much younger because my older brother is 6 years older than me. So right around that time when he's 9, getting his first system or whatever,
you're right.
I'm toddling along, trying to join in, and then yes, that does make sense then. Yeah, the original Battlefront games were great. Like I said, Battlefront 1 and 2, they were developing 3, and if you listen to some of the old developers, they were a lot further along than you think. Other ones are saying no, the game was unplayable. That there was no way that they were going to be able to get that done and what they promised. But 3 is like one of those things that the first Star Wars game that I can think of that really hit the developmental hell state. Obviously, since then we've had a number of other ones that have been. Shout out to, what was it, 1313. Sad to see that they weren't gonna ever. That was never gonna come.
That was probably like everybody's most anticipated game for Star Wars, and it was like, nope, not happening.
That's what it's weird. They have so many Star Wars games that I don't know if it's a case of where the license was during that time frame, but there was stuff that was announced that just never happened. and it seemed like Star Wars was getting announced and cut so much. Like I remember hearing rumors that there was going to be a Force Unleashed 3. Like there was so much stuff. Obviously, the 1313. They've been talking about some bounty hunters game. I felt like ever since I started.
Bounty Hunter was a 1313 game.
I thought it was. I thought they had a separate one. I thought that one was a. I thought you were a trooper.
It might have been a separate one. To be fair, they had like a lot of games for Star Wars that was announced and never happened.
Never happened. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy. So like that was sort of like, I guess you want to call it like the dark ages of it between Battlefront 2 after Force Unleashed 2. I think Force Unleashed 2 sort of left like a gap after that until probably what came first? Was it the Battlefront remake?
After Force Unleashed, I'm pretty sure it was the remake of Battlefront.
That would make sense. So then you were looking at, because I think the first Battlefront came back.
The first Battlefront was in 2004.
No, I'm saying the remakes.
Oh, I think that was 2012.
Yep, because that would make sense. Because then no, it had to be later. Because I know 2 came out 2017, and actually I have it right here. Yeah, so yeah, okay. The first one was November of 2015. The second one was November of 2017, and so you got to figure that was a good 4 or 5 years of just no Star Wars games. And then you come back with some, in our eyes, pretty decent hitters with Battlefront 2. I wasn't a huge fan of the fighter pilot one. That one wasn't huge on my list.
I saw gameplay of that and I was like, yeah, that's a no-go for me.
I know some people liked it. Like, I know my guy Bacardi, when it first came out, I think it was on Game Pass day 1 or something like that. So he was like, yo, let's try it out. And I just couldn't get with it. The space fighting, that's always the least favorite part of the game for me. Like when you have to fight in the ships, that's always the least favorite part.
Too, when he had the space battles, I was like, yeah, this is annoying.
Yeah.
It took me so long to do. I was like, yeah, I can't do this.
No, yeah, I fully get that. So, but like I said, I think a lot of people liked it. I think it did better for the people who had VR. So I think that's sort of where it probably got its I guess most due, and I don't really care for VR. So that definitely also lost me. But then like I said, you're getting back to, now we're getting more games, because obviously after those was Jedi Fallen Order, and that game was amazing. Like we could probably do an entire episode alone just on the storyline between Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, because a lot of it felt like a new beginning for Star Wars games, in the hopes that, well, you're going to do these character driven stories. They're part of the entire storyline. You got your mastery of the Force, I think reminiscent, probably second best to Force Unleashed. I don't think you're ever going to pass the way that you can use the Force in that game. But this was a very close second, in my opinion. So this was definitely, I think, the new spark that Star Wars games needed. Bring me back a Battlefront 3. I'll take it at this point still. I don't care what the people say. There's so much that you can do. And I'm curious of your thoughts of sort of where they came outside of the remakes into Force Unleashed, or into the Force or Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor games, and sort of going forward
between Battlefront and Jedi Survivor.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, I'm with a lot of people that I wasn't a big fan of Battlefront in terms of what they had to do with the cosmetics and stuff like that. You had to basically pay to win and all of that. I was not a fan of that. But that was an EA specialty right there. They love to do those little things, which is terrible. But between that and then to Jedi, Fallen, where EA started to take like started to lean back away from Star Wars, and I forgot who developed this. I can't
Respawn,
remember.
right?
Respawn started to take charge. I'm pretty sure it's Respawn. They started to take charge, and everything just started upgrading from there. With Fallen Order, the graphics got a lot better. The story, just the whole gameplay. Um, it's it was more popular than what we got in Battlefront, which was a good start for mine Star Wars as a franchise for video games in general. And then we got Jedi Survivor, which was an upgrade from Fallen Order, which is also great. So those two games set the precedent for future Star Wars games from now on, which is something that they need to start controlling a little bit more, especially with Lucasfilm licensing off for the different studios to create more Star Wars games. And just like we're getting a High Republic game, we're getting a game for Ubisoft and stuff like that. We're getting a lot more games that has been announced. The thing is that we've already had a lot of games announced, but they never came to fruition. So hopefully they can get their shit together for this part of, I should say, for this era of Star Wars gaming. That's what I'm hoping, at least. But right now is a great start for between Battlefront, Fallen Order, and Jedi Survivor.
That's fair. I think I want to make sure to also not forget that while all of this is happening, they do still have Star Wars: The Old Republic that's been chugging along since 2011.
Yeah.
That's their main foray into that MMORPG series. And while I sort of dip and dabble in, like I'll download it, I'll play for a while, sort of you dip out. I've never been too married to any MMORPG. Like that's just not my genre of games. Every time I play it, I am blown away by the advancements that they've made since then. So that in that instance, that group, I think it's BioWare that did that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
You can tell that they're sort of still putting in effort with this game. It definitely has a bunch of spin-offs, has a bunch of expansion packs and all of that. So it's one of those ones where if we're talking about what we want to see in terms of commitment and care that you care about for just sort of this property when you're moving forward with your next games, I think also looking at what they've been doing and sort of keeping it fresh and keeping it to the point where people want to come back. You know, there's that replayability. I think they would also be very, very huge to draw inspiration from. So I know what you were talking about also, some of the games that are coming and how things sort of get announced but never appear. We got a bunch of gaming rumors that I wanted to go into, just sort of that'll give us a little bit of idea on the state of the Star Wars gaming universe moving forward. First up, with Star Wars Hunters, it's a multiplayer game that's coming to mobile and the Switch. So I'm not sure how much either of us really care, but they're probably fans of that out there. Am I right in saying that you don't care?
No, I don't care. But recently, I've been playing a lot of mobile games.
Okay.
Dislight right now is my favorite mobile game of all time. So,
which game? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Dislight. It's Dislyt. It's called Dislight, and
Never heard of it.
It basically focuses on modern mythology, basically, where you have all the gods in there, but it's more modern take to them, which is really cool. So hopefully, if the game is as cool as that, I would definitely care a lot more. But right now,
well, if you haven't heard about the game, essentially, obviously, based on the name Hunters, you're going to be able to choose and join squad and basically do multiplayer battles where you would fight in sort of like arena combat. So the arenas are going to be inspired by a bunch of different iconic locations. you can pick from being like rebels, stormtroopers, bounty hunters, and it's that whole you fight the other squad type thing. It was announced to have supposed to have launched last year, but they did say that they were going to push it back a year. And latest rumors that we have is that it is still expected to be released during this calendar year. I get it; we're quickly getting close to being halfway done with it. But for fans who are looking for that, that's something that they can hope to expect this year.
Is it Switch you said too?
Yeah, so it's for mobile, obviously that's Android, iOS, and then Switch.
Okay.
Which good
I
for
might
them.
get a Switch. If this, I'm gonna check it out after this. If it looks cool, I might get a Switch and play.
You should. I probably will not. I don't play too many mobile games. But I am curious to see how it'll look. The picture that they dropped with it looks pretty cool, but it's definitely a CGI picture.
Makes
so
sense. Anything to make it look cool so people can buy it. Yeah.
Right. So along the lines of that, Respawn, fresh off the heels of their, I guess, Jedi Survivor triumph is probably the best way to put it. They did announce that they have 2 more Star Wars games coming. A first-person shooter. It hasn't been titled yet. It seems like they're still in very early development. It was really it was revealed early January, but he did say even at the time they were saying they want to focus on getting ready for to finish up Jedi Survivor. Not much is known, but we know that that's coming. And also with that, there are plans for a strategy game. I don't really know exactly what that means. I don't know if it's going to be like.
Would it be like in the realms of Old Republic, that type of strategy game, or is it?
So the guy who's leading it, he worked on Civilization. So
Okay.
I'm assuming something along the lines of that. I never played the Civilization game, so I don't really know exactly what that means, but I'm interested in seeing exactly what it'll be because it might be worth it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this might be a skip for me. I'm not a huge fan of strategy games. But if it has like a cool story to it, I'm definitely going to watch it on YouTube and just watch the story instead.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I would have to look up Civilization because I've never even seen anybody play it just to see what you would be getting yourself into with trying to play those type of games. But I mean, it might be. I got Respawn with their Star Wars games because they're 2 for 2 right now. I'll give them a little bit of leeway to be like, well, I'll hold out hope to see what you're talking about. Next on that,
I need to see it look into it before I decide anything.
That's fair. That's sort of where I'm at with it. But they may blow us away. I had never played a Diablo before Diablo 4, and then I saw how that was looking, and I was like, yo, I gotta get that.
Yeah. I played a demo for Diablo 4 and I was really liking it. The reason why I haven't gotten it yet is because there was other games that I was focusing on, aka Jedi Survivor. Yeah.
That's fair.
Final Fantasy is coming up.
Oh, I gotta get that. I gotta get that. So it might be a while, but I'm probably gonna pick it up at some point. Let's see. Next on the list is Star Wars Eclipse. Do you remember that game getting announced?
Yes.
Way back in 2021. So like I said, when it was announced, it was stated to have been in very early days of development and sort of to not expect it in the next couple of years or anything. Last that we've heard, there have been a number of hirings, sort of. You can see job postings about it. Obviously, they're all under you're sort of parsing out what you think this game is going to be. So it looks like they're very much in development now. And while there's no terms of a date, we are confident to say, at least according to everything that we've heard, that it's going to be next gen only, which by now, I don't think that should be unexpected. Especially with Jedi Survivor being PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X or S only, but it is worth noting. So there's that.
Yeah, I'm still a little scared. Even though I'm really excited for the game, I'm still a little scared that there hasn't been like official news on it yet. Only the announcement, and it's been what, a year plus, 2 years maybe.
Yeah, it was a little over two. No, because it was Game Awards. So
Yeah, it was
almost 2 years.
last year Game Awards.
21.
Yeah, so 2 years, basically a year and like 7 months.
Yeah.
And there's still no official news on anything else on that game. It's a little nerve wracking right now because I really want that game to happen, especially since it's focused on, I'll be honest, my favorite era right now, which is the High Republic. So.
That's fair. I mean, I'm looking through again. I haven't seen anything else. So I think because of what they said and the fact that it was early development and that people are seeing those job hirings and stuff for it, I think we could take it as no news being good news here. But I agree with you. It is a little worrisome because this has the potential to sort of follow up to that tradition of what we've already seen with Jedi Survivor in that being a very epic story that expands the universe. Yes, the story from Battlefront 2 would have expanded, I guess, in a little bit, but I think this sort of jumping into an era that doesn't have a lot in it expands it much more than, finding out about a character that, that helped out with the rebellion.
Yeah.
So
the High Republic era is an era that's been, it's recently new. So to already get a game on it is something that's really, really unrecognizable to most Star Wars fans. That's high value Star Wars fan. So to get that, hopefully they'll hit it out of the park. So that's why I'm scared but excited for it.
So, like I said, I think with that one, I want to take no news as good news, and that could be just me being very optimistic. But I like it knowing that they said like, "Yo, we are early in development. It's going to be a while." Versus them sort of giving more information, getting a rough date, and then stop hearing anything, which actually takes me to the next game on the list, and that's the Knights of the Old Republic remake. This game went through a saga. I think it was announced. It had to be last year, in just like in last year's PlayStation Showcase. We were told 2020. We were told not to expect it in 2023 because it should be 2024. Then there was rumors that the original studio shut down, or not even necessarily shut down, got refolded into their parent company, and things are going crazy. Things are going different with that game. So this game,
drama.
It was a lot of drama. As of this recording, the game is still on, and that's from an investor's call with the development company. Essentially, they still have it on their list of games that they're telling their investors that are coming out, which means you really can't lie to your investors, I guess is the best way to put it.
There's been instances where studios lie to their investors. So,
well, what they can say, you can't. I guess what we should say is, as of that call and whatever day that was, let's assume it was the day that we got it and that we saw it. As of that moment, they did still have plans for the game to come out. So whether that means that it's still in development, they're still trying to restructure and figure out who's going to do the development. Because this isn't really news. It's just sort of somebody who's probably invested in the company was like, hey, cool, I'm going to leak this. We can still feasibly expect it. And I really hope that this game comes out because this is something that I am 100% looking forward to.
Yes.
Let's hope, let's pray, let's, I guess, do what we can to make sure that game sees the light of day.
Which is nothing. We can't do nothing about that.
That's true. You can, I don't know, buy up some of their other games so they can like, oh, okay, people are looking for our games. do what you can to make sure that this game comes out.
The thing is that I feel like they want to do it. It's just that all that drama that's happening right now is like hindering them to do it because Knights of the Old Republic is a very popular game. Old Republic is still going hard right now, and it's been what? It's
10,
been
12 years,
decade plus since that game. So I feel like they do want to do it. It's just it's tough for them. I imagine it's tough for them to get it off the ground, especially nowadays. Remake games are very in high demand at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't sound like game development costs are going down. Obviously, especially for these large epic games.
Games, yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know how true it is. Did you hear the rumor about the GTA 6?
Yeah, I did. I don't think anything's gonna be higher than that though. Honestly, I don't. Yeah, honestly, I don't think it's true. If it is, props to them. Really, not really props to them because that is way too much money to be spending on a video game. So
it's at that point, and I think it's at that rate. Games are good. That's what I was telling. I think me and you were talking about that. When I was like, game prices are going to go higher if games are going to start getting close to that $1 billion development cost. And like you said, obviously every game won't do it, but all of these big AAA games are. If you're assuming GTA 6 is, more AAA games are going to get close and closer to that, especially for these games that are probably multi-planet, I guess multi-world, or just things like that, where you're trying to build almost as big a map as possible. Because I'm assuming that's what's killing it for GTA. Is the rumors for that is that they're supposed to go to have 2 full-fledged cities in it, essentially. So,
for me personally, I was never a huge GTA fan anyway. So personally, I don't really care for that. I know they made big waves being one of the first games to have like a massive open world game. So props on that. But I just hope, like we were talking about this earlier, a couple of days ago. For me, the prices already just went up later last year on the games to $70. So for them to raise it again so early it wouldn't make sense logistic wise. So hopefully in 4 or 5 years, maybe I can see them raising the prices again. But right now, I can't see them doing it again, especially since that I don't think it's going the way they wanted it to go for them to raise their prices.
That's fair, and I don't think it would necessarily be. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be something that's like, oh, it's gonna happen in between a generation. I think, when you're talking about getting to the PlayStation 6 and whatever they're calling the next Xbox and then whatever Nintendo's doing, might still be the Switch for all we know. I think that's when you start seeing the 80. They just try to sort of see what they can get away with. So I don't know. But the next game that we recently got a little bit of news about is the open world Ubisoft game. Obviously we know that it's still on its way. Ubisoft is huge in making those open world games. Obviously all the Assassin's Creed, especially in recent years, have been very large open worlds. And I think it's a little exciting to see that that's coming. I know personally, I've been wanting an open world Star Wars game. I thought you said you did, but is it like you? Then I remember you talking. You didn't seem super excited about it, so I was curious to pick your thoughts on that.
Wait, when was this? Hold on.
I think it was like you felt like it wasn't going to be the right open. I forgot what you said. I don't. You didn't seem as gung ho about it as I was in Juwan.
That wasn't me, or that was a different game we were talking about.
I could have sworn we were talking about this.
Yeah, no, that doesn't sound like me. Well,
okay.
I stopped playing Hogwarts Legacy because that game just reminded me that I wanted a Star Wars open world game for the longest time. So I just stopped playing Hogwarts Legacy because I got too mad because I never got my open world Star Wars game. So
Okay, maybe it wasn't you then. Well, either way, you should be happy to know that this game is supposedly coming sooner than we were thinking. I think most people weren't, when they announced it, most people weren't thinking 2023, 2024. We were hoping for like maybe a 2025 from the way that they were sort of talking in their announcement. But there's a Assassin's Creed, like the publisher, he thinks or they think that it could arrive by March 2024 because it's listed on the, well, there's an unnamed game listed on the current like fiscal year document, like for what's going to be released, and the description for it very closely matches what could be an open world Star Wars game. So obviously it's still a rumor. When the article reached out to Ubisoft, they said that they don't comment on rumors or speculation, which is, boilerplate. Stop talking to me. Just
basically.
But I'm really excited if it's potentially March of next year.
If that's the case, then they got some work to do marketing wise pretty soon. So,
well, you would think that if it is, let's say it is March of next year, don't they have a Summer Games Fest presentation? I would assume they do.
Is it in June?
I thought Summer Games Fest. I think it's like literally all summer, like all throughout June and July.
Okay. Then I don't think we're gonna get it then. Though. I don't know. I can see them starting to wrap if it's true. I can see them putting it out during quarter one, and quarter two of 2024, giving us some nice things, I should say, for the Ubisoft open world. Ubisoft is big on advertising their games, especially something as big as a Star Wars game. Hell, they like.
Okay. No, I was gonna say that's why I was thinking the first announcement would be during this summer.
I feel like they're mainly focusing on Assassin's Creed right now for Ubisoft. So I can see them doing more so of a focus on that, especially since Assassin's Creed Mirage is literally around the corner in October. You also have Assassin's Creed Red. You have the whole overarching Assassin's Creed world where they're basically putting all their games into that one specific area. So I forgot what that's called, but they have a lot of things for Assassin's Creed right now to advertise this year and mid next year as well. So they have a lot of stuff to do. I can see them putting off a little bit on this Ubisoft game, specifically just for a surprise for the Star Wars fans or just Ubisoft fans in general, especially since it more than likely will be their biggest franchise next to Assassin's Creed.
That's fair. So their showcase is June 12th. So we'll see then. You could be right. I mean, I guess what is that? If we're saying March, that if they announce it June, that'll give them roughly 8 or 9 months to for a marketing blitz. If we are right, or if I'm right and it does come out then. But I think you could also, because it doesn't necessarily have to dominate this showcase. It could just be we dropped the title card here. Games love doing that now, where they'll give you a very short cinematic, and it's just the title card. Because remember, as of right now, we don't even know a name of this game. So if the publisher is right, and it is going to be March, you got to at least give something. I guess that's sort of where I'm going with it. But
my thing is, if this is true, they needed to have to already be in development with this game already. That's my thing. They needed to be in development already for it to be in March. If it's a year turnaround for the game to release, that's terrible to begin with, because you need a longer time than a year to make a game that's a high quality game. That's a AAA game basically. So for them, hopefully they've been sticking with this game and for at least what since
It was announced.
2021.
It was announced in 2021. I don't see why they couldn't have, because the group underneath Ubisoft that's going to be working on it is massive. So that's one of the, like, the Division 1, Division 2.
Mm.
I can't think of anything else they would have been doing recently. Like, obviously, there's the Division. I just logged on the Division the other day and I saw that they had updates. So they've obviously been still supporting that. But in terms of their sort of, I guess, new project, and like that, so that big that big thing that they're like, well, this is the main focus of the studio. I don't think that they've had anything since the Division came out.
No,
So
I don't think
that
so.
would
Either.
give them time. Let me see. Their last thing. So yeah, the Division 2 came out in 2019, and so the only other thing that's potentially on their list is this Avatar Frontiers of
Oh
Pandora.
yeah, that's right. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So base. So you have the. I feel like I heard that they've been working on this Ubisoft game a little bit after the Avatar game. So I think they're definitely more focused on the Avatar game right now than. So yeah, uh, uh, I'll say this. I'll say this. Avatar will be the first thing that they're going to advertise more than anything else, especially off of the heels of Avatar 2, which is another popular franchise. So they're going to focus on that first. And so yeah, I can't see it making the March of 2024 release date. I will make a speculation on this. I would say that the game will have another release date, but it's later on in 2024. I'll say September, maybe September, October of 2024. That way they
So,
can have a little bit of gap between that and Avatar, especially marketing wise.
so to your point, looking for further in that article, they were saying, the people at Kotaku, they were saying that their sources, I guess whoever other than this person who clearly told them the March date, their other sources were saying, well, they think that it would slip into the next fiscal year, which would have been that April to March of 2024 into 2025. So that does align with what you're thinking. I was trying
Mhm.
to look at the top.
Yeah,
Uh,
so Avatar's release date is March of 2024. That's what they're saying right now.
right. So the thing, and because at first I was thinking, well, maybe they just forgot about the Avatar, and that was the March 2024. But yeah, this article,
Mhm.
the guy who told them or whoever they got this from did say no, including with Avatar. Now I agree with you. They're not going to release both of those
Yeah, at the same time, there's
at
no
the
way.
same time. Yeah.
That would be a stupid move
so,
for them to
so
do.
yeah, no, now I definitely agree with you. I do see it going into that next fiscal year where if that's the March release, the Star Wars game could be an October, September, October. I don't know if there's an Assassin's Creed slated to come out around that time, but sort
I'm
of.
pretty sure there is, to be honest. I'm pretty sure there is.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I do agree with you in that March now seems a little over ambitious.
Yeah,
Well, there's go
go
ahead.
on.
No,
Yeah,
I was
I see. I just
so
don't see a way for them to have a March release date for Star Wars. I can't see that.
that is fair. And then, so the last game that we have on this list is the Skydance New Media Star Wars game. We don't again know too much about it, other than that it is supposed to be a supposed to be a revival of a project. It was called Project Ragtag that sort of got canceled, and it's supposed to be that coming back. I don't know if you ever remember seeing the stuff for Project Ragtag where they showed early game footage, and it was another one of those Star Wars games that got caught in developmental hell essentially.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen that. I think that was right along with 1313. Or was that
So no, it was so 1313 got canceled. Then she, because the same lady Amy Hennig, she's the one who's sort of led the team each
yeah.
time. So she was 13, she also did 1313. That got canceled. They came back and said, well, we'll give you another chance with Project Ragtag. That got canceled. And so this is sort of her third shot at the helm. And I wonder if it's been the case of, because each time it's always been something happened and the new company was just like, no. So like the first time LucasArts had got bought by Disney, Disney didn't want it. When the second time the developer under EA, it was called Visceral. EA shut down their development arm. Probably out of the game, probably was costing too much to develop or something. That's what I'm assuming, or it was just EA doing EA type things. So that's what shut that down. So it was never a case of they didn't like the product that was coming out because they never got to that point. So I think now being able to sort of, I guess, complete the vision that she's probably been trying to do, because to your point of Ragtag being similar to 1313, I bet there were elements. I bet this has been that same story trying to basically make its way through to fruition ever since then. So like I said, we know for sure that it wouldn't have been this fiscal year or anything. So like it wouldn't have been 2023 or probably even to mid 2024. But sort of things have been coming out more about where the storyline's going to be. So it looks like it's going to be set in the Rebel Alliance era. And like I said, it seems to be taking elements from Project Ragtag, which, if I remember correctly, were taking elements from 1313. Other than that, I don't know too much about this game. Do you know anything about it?
Other than that, it's going to be a story focused game. So I don't think it's going to be like an open world game or anything like that. I think it's just going to focus on that story. So, sort of like something like Guardians of the Galaxy that came out. I can see that, but other than that, I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I think to that point, that's been sort of a reoccurring theme on Star Wars games, and I think that's a perfect way to sort of start closing this out in the fact of what do you want to see from the Star Wars gaming universe moving forward. And I think for me, it's clarity. Like we've sort of been saying this entire episode, and as you can tell from how we were going through some of the rumors and news that we had, a lot of it has been, well, we think that this might be happening. We can pull it from based off of X, Y, and Z that this seems like it's still in the works. There's no sense of clarity. And I think that's sort of, if you are trying to build a gaming universe, essentially, and I don't mean that in the sense that these games are going to be intertwined or anything, but sort of build excitement around your franchise for gaming. I think you got to sort of give the fans a bone and say, well, these are the stuff that we are planning. These are for sure still coming out. This is an estimated date, or just something to get people excited about what could potentially be coming, rather than saying, well, I hope that this is still coming because the idea that I built up for it in my head is going to be really cool.
Yeah. For me, my whole issue with this is that a lot of these games have been announced without actually being in development. So there's a high probability chance that they will never be developed to begin with. So them hyping it up and giving us an announcement that they're thinking about creating these games is, for me, stupid. I understand that it's trying to create hype for the game, but all in all, it does nothing if it doesn't work out to begin with. So hopefully, from now on, they won't announce any more games until they're like midway through the development route, and that way they can announce it and be 100% 100% sure that it is going to be released on such and such date or such a year, I should say. So hopefully they'll do that instead of just giving us a cinematic, which are awesome cinematics. I love the Eclipse cinematics so much. Instead of giving us cinematics and just saying this is announced. Okay. But we're not entirely sure that's going to be made. So why should we care as an audience? To me, it's a dumb move on the marketing team.
Right.
I understand that it creates hype, but that hype is null and void if it doesn't get created to begin with.
I think, unfortunately, that's a problem of gaming in general. Like, think about all the games that, hell, just at this PlayStation showcase last week, they were cinematics, and it was either coming soon, it'll have like a year, and you can assume that means this probably hasn't started development. Think about the Wonder Woman
game. Yeah, I agree with you on the Wonder Woman thing, but the difference between this showcase, that yes, we did get cinematics, but we also had a little bit of gameplay within those cinematics that tell us that they're already midway through in development. So those games are for sure coming to us. It's just that for me, like you said, basically is that there was no release dates for a lot of these games, which is stupid. Also, they should have already had these not even for release dates. I'm fine with the year 2024. Which we got 2024, 2023, 2025, fall 2024, spring 2023. It doesn't matter. I don't need a full release date. I just need to know where you guys where they're headed with these quarterly years for their gaming. I already know that these games are already midway through development, so I'm totally fine with that. My whole thing with the showcase is that they didn't really show any like first party games for PlayStation. That was my whole thing on it, except for like Spider-Man, which was awesome. I love Spider-Man. So yeah, it's a whole nother thing for the showcase.
That's fair. Well, I think that's sort of where we can leave it, because I mean, like everybody else, we don't have much more information on any new Star Wars games that are coming out. But I'm curious for the people who are watching this to let us know what are their favorite Star Wars games, what are some of the highs and lows of gaming with Star Wars for them. Let us know about it in the comments. I'm not sure what the next episode's going to be about quite yet, but I think with Ahsoka coming out, Baby Yoda's first deep dive into her character, sort of give the people what they need to know, especially before that series comes out. I think that'll be sort of a good thing to do. I know I want to get a chance to like sort of go into some of like the collectibles of Star Wars. So we got a lot of great ideas. We'll definitely get everything and anything throughout the galaxy for you guys. This has been the Lost Holocron podcast. I am your host, Didge. AJ, thank you for joining me as always. And until next time, everyone, peace.
Peace.